I have two questions about the college admission process and you being working in the college admission office there at Chapman. The first question is to offer your one best tip or truth to our listeners, our students, our families. What's the one thing you want them to know about this process?
I think the one thing that is really important to note is that as admission counselors, at least at Chapman, like we look at your application from top to bottom. We are really looking at everything. So I promise that every decision we are making is not against the student in itself. I know that it can be really hard to receive some bad news. And so I think just understanding that we are making very hard decisions. We are people too is really definitely something that's important to note. But another thing that I think is really important is reach out to your admission counselor, whether it is just emailing them and saying, hi, I'm really interested. Nice to meet you. That's awesome. Or asking all the questions that you have. We are here to help. That is our entire job. That is why we do what we do. And we love to help students. So reach out with any questions, build those connections, because it is so nice to see and understand a student's personality through interacting with them, reading their application and being like, oh, but knowing their personality, I can really see the fit that they're speaking of. And that can make all the difference in admission process. So definitely reach out to your counselor. We're not scary. We want to talk to you. And we have so much knowledge regarding the institution we're working for, so we can really do our best to help you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted, but one of the things, so I obviously went to visit before COVID, but one of the things I love in your lobby and on your website is that you do list for the students and families which counselor has which territory or region. So can you explain to our listeners, what does that mean? Because I often will say, contact your local representative. So can you help them understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So each admission counselor in our office has a different territory. So for example, mine is Northern San Diego County, the Irvine Unified School District, as well as San Mateo County up in the Bay Area. So I'm kind of all throughout California. And what that means is that I work with those students from the beginning of the application process until their first day of school, if they would like me to. And the reason that we split up our students based on these territories is that so we can really understand the community these students are coming from, the schools that they are coming from. We become extremely familiar with the schools, what kinds of courses are offered, kind of where their demographics stand, averages, just kind of stuff like that, so we can understand the community you're coming from. We like to understand, are you going to a huge high school? Is your school smaller? And if we're kind of looking at the same schools over and over again, we become super familiar with the schools and the students that we're working with, so we can better understand the context of your application.
Absolutely. And so I just want to show those who will watch this and not just listen to it. This is the website, and I literally just Googled Chapman Meet Your Counselor, and it brought me to this page, you guys. And I'm telling you, this is like the little secret sauce where you find who your person is. And so if you scroll down, there's Jamie.
There I am.
And so what she's saying is, it's the job of this regional person to really understand the context of where you come from, like she said, and your school. And so this is the best person to connect with. And you can connect, I think students are intimidated. They don't know that they can connect with you even before senior year and just sort of ask questions along the way.
Absolutely. I love when I get get emails from sophomores that are like, I think Chapman just looks really cool. I'm like, great, that's awesome.
Okay, so my favorite question to ask is to offer up your favorite tale, a student that you remember, an applicant or something that sticks out in your mind, and then share with our listeners and viewers why that person sticks so much in your mind even today.
Absolutely. So I have two for two different reasons. The first one will be quick, but I do remember an applicant from my first cycle of reading, and he was applying to our most competitive major on campus, film production, but he was like, Chapman is the school for me. I want to be here so bad. When I got to his application, I had recognized his name because we had already talked a couple times, and his essay ended up being about how he drives a Prius. And his entire application was about driving a Prius, how he used to be really embarrassed about driving this Prius, and how many lessons he learned from experiencing driving maybe not the most popular car. But just his storytelling throughout this essay had me laughing. I was loving reading it. I showed it to my coworkers. I was like, look how fun this essay is. And I think that was what made him stand out, is that he had fun with it. And that is so important. You want to show your personality through your essays, through supplemental questions, all that, because your GPA, all that, that's going to speak for itself. But we want to see your personality. We want fun, exciting people that are going to make an impact on campus, on our campus. So that was one that stood out to me. I also drove a Prius at that time, so I was like feeling really connected to him. But the second individual was actually from this most recent reading cycle. And the reason she stuck out is because she did just what I was mentioning earlier, and she connected with me. She scheduled, I believe, 3 or 4 Zoom calls with me. And not only did I answer her questions about Chapman, but I also got a chance to just get to know her. We talked about our favorite movies. I recommended Mamma Mia, both 1 and 2, because those are my favorites. And so she watched those for the first time, and we would discuss them after. So it was really fun to watch this reaction and this relationship really just grow between myself and the student. And when reading her application, it was interesting. She wasn't the strongest student that was applying. She was applying to a very popular major. So looking at her application, if I hadn't had those interactions with her, maybe I wouldn't have seen the fit as much, and I wouldn't have seen her preparation and all of that. But having engaged with her so much, I was able to advocate for her in the reading cycle and really say that I know this girl, and I know that she would be an incredible fit for Chapman. And so she is admitted, she is deposited, and she will be starting in the fall. And I'm so excited to have her on campus. So that was definitely really a standout student for me, because she took charge, built that relationship, and it made all the difference in her application process.
I love this story, and it has a happy ending.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yes, 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 and yes. So thank you for sharing that, and perhaps you'll get a flood of people
I know.
for recommendations now.
I would love that.
I love it. I love it. And you said Zoom. Obviously, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and so students. Is she from California?
She is from California. Yeah.
Okay. And the other kid, the Prius kid, was too.
Yes.
So, and I know you get applicants from across the country. My point was more of like that it's made everything smaller. Like, anyone from anywhere can reach out to you and say, can we schedule some time? So that's great. I love the Prius story. And the reason I asked if they're from California, because other parts of the country don't have the car thing like we do. Many do, but it was a big deal. I remember what kind of car you were getting, like when you were turning 16, and I can just picture that essay. So that's funny.
Yeah, it was so great. And one thing that's nice is virtual life, as unfortunate as it has been, obviously, it has also really been able to grow our reach, which has been incredible. So all the virtual offerings that we've been offering the past year, we're hoping to continue. So students can connect with us via Zoom or do a virtual tour if they aren't able to make it to campus. Maybe they're from another country or the other side of the country. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of open up our reach to more students.